So, good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you're joining from, and thank you for joining us for what I'm going to call the first in our webinar series, because we have a lot of content coming up over the next few weeks and months. Thank you for joining me and Emma this morning for a webinar around Microsoft Service Manager and how you can use it to transform your IT service management processes and initiatives. As I said, my name is Davis Mathai. I'm a solutions architect, for those of you who don't know me, who've not met me so far, working within the EMEA region, and I'm really pleased to have with me Emma. Emma, I don't know if you want to just do a quick introduction as well.
Sure. Morning, everybody. I'm Emma Roper. I joined Saracen recently as the EMEA Territory Manager. I work with Davis and Paul, who you may know, and to support them in all things Saracen.
Brilliant. Thanks, Emma. So yeah, we're really excited to have Emma on board, and she's going to help me today with this webinar and monitoring some of the questions and that good stuff that comes through from you guys. So just a couple of housekeeping items. So the webinar is being recorded. What we do with our webinars, if you're not familiar, is we post them up to our Vimeo site, and we'll share a link to that later on as well. So it's vimeo.com/team Saracen, and within there's a huge repository of previous webinars, training, etc. that we've done. So please do check that out. Secondly, if you do have any questions, unfortunately the webinar is non-interactive, so you're all muted as you'll know. But if you do have any questions, there is a questions box within the GoToWebinar utility. So please post any questions that you do have with some context, and we do have some time at the end for questions, so if you don't mind, we'll leave those questions to that time. So what do we want to cover today? At a high level, I'm hoping a lot of you have heard of Saracen, but we'll give you a quick overview of who we are and what we do. And then we'll talk a bit more about Service Manager and how it links into other systems, as well as your IT service management initiatives and how it's a good solution for that. We'll talk about some of our Saracen community applications and other products that can enhance and enable you to leverage that investment that you may make in Service Manager. And hopefully, the largest section of this webinar today will be a demonstration of Service Manager and some of our Saracen products as well. And we'll finish off, like I said, with some questions and answers. Hopefully, all of you are here because you're looking into Service Manager. And the intention of this webinar is not to get too deep dive technical with customizations or other things you can do with the product, but give you an introduction into some of the capabilities, and watch out for additional content that will dive into the product in a bit more detail. Like I said, I just wanted to do a quick introduction to Saracen. So Saracen is a mature software company. We've been around for about 5 years, and we are very much System Center experts, and that's how we started. We live and breathe System Center. We're very passionate about it, and since 2012, we've been developing solutions and services on top of initially System Center Service Manager, and now across the entire System Center suite, particularly Configuration Manager as well. And since 2012, we've done some great things, and that's borne out by some of these statistics. We work in over 60 countries now. We've acquired over 1,200 customers globally, and typically our customers love us, and that's borne out by some of our renewal statistics. So you can see 99% renewal rate across our products is something that we're really proud about. Our consultancy teams have delivered over 43,000 hours of consultancy over the last 4.5 years. Again, a great testament to the capabilities of our services team. And we work with our partners, we work with our customers to supplement some of your initiatives around service and asset management with System Center. Some other accolades that we have, and again, all very recent things, across from being recognized as within the Microsoft Partner Network through to some of these awards that we've had in the industry for being one of the fastest growing companies in the US, as well as having some of the greatest asset management products and solutions. All of these accolades are things that we are really proud about. And if you're interested in finding out any more details about any of those, please just check out our website, which has just been revamped and relaunched, to find out some more details about any of these things. One of the things we like to do at Saracen is enable you to do more. So leverage some of those investments that you've made in System Center and any other solutions. That spans now for us across various disciplines. So service management is a key focus of today's webinar. So we take your investment in Service Manager as a product and deliver expertise to enhance the capabilities of the product natively, as well as maybe customizing or developing further on top of it. But we also have a range of other solutions. So we have asset management capabilities, both within Service Manager, as well as one of our latest solutions to enable you to manage and track compliance for Microsoft licensing solutions through a very simple and intuitive user interface. And that's True Software Asset Management, which is just released actually today. So that's another product that we do have. We have products for Configuration Manager to enhance your capabilities in managing the Configuration Manager environment, as well as leveraging functionality in Configuration Manager that you couldn't do just through the console, like giving lockdown access through a web interface to certain individuals within your business. And True Control Center allows you to do that. And I've already mentioned our consultancy services across all of our products, across any component of System Center. Should you need some additional support in deploying, designing, implementing those solutions and customizing those solutions, our services, our consultancy services can help you with that as well. That's a bit about Saracen, and hopefully a lot of that is stuff that you've already heard of us for and things that you've seen already. But if there's any other questions and things that we can help you with, please do get in touch with us. We'd be more than happy to set up demos, discussions around any of the products or services that we offer. So given that we are going to focus on Service Manager's capabilities as an ITSM, so IT Service Management Solution, I want to take a sort of a short step back and look at Microsoft System Center as a stack and how it provides functionality for all aspects of your service management and asset management spectrum. Now, hopefully all of you are familiar with at least some of the components of System Center. I know a lot of you will be using Configuration Manager. It's one of the most utilized configuration management solutions out there. I think 125,000 customers globally use Configuration Manager. I guess a second most popular solution within System Center is Operations Manager for monitoring end-to-end service across your infrastructure. But System Center consists of a range of tools and solutions. But for most of our customers, Service Manager is often one of the final modules that you put in to make System Center much more mature. So on the one hand, it's an enterprise caliber service management solution based on ITIL, so IT Infrastructure Library, and Microsoft Operations Framework, or MOF as it's commonly known. But what makes Service Manager unlike any other service management solution is that it integrates with, it is the glue. You can think of it as a glue that holds System Center products together. All System Center solutions can feed into Service Manager, and also Service Manager is extremely extensible, so you can build on top of it with management packs, customizations, and it's one of those things that really have enabled Saracen to add the value that we've been able to add over the last few years. Service Manager can be your enterprise CMDB. It can take in data sources from, as I've mentioned already, all your System Center solutions, Active Directory. You can import custom data from other sources. And all of that enables you to have a good visibility of your assets, as well as your configuration items, as well as manage all those relationships across the data sets through a single platform. And the final comment I've sort of alluded to already is the fact that Service Manager is extremely extensible. It supports the ability to add third-party management packs, and we'll touch on some of the things that Saracen have done in terms of some of our applications, but Saracen has leveraged that capability in Service Manager. And we spent a number of years taking Service Manager to the next level by adding key functionality that we found missing maybe in Service Manager, or enhancing existing capabilities to make it much more enterprise ready. So hopefully that gives you a very good overview, a high level overview at least, of System Center, how it links together, and how Service Manager and Saracen can bring out the key capabilities that you need to manage your service management initiatives within your business. So I don't want to spend too long on slides. We've got a couple more slides before we move on to the demonstration. But I wanted to spend a few minutes on talking about CMDB, or Configuration Management Database. Hopefully all of you are interested or are developing and deploying CMDB within your environments. But essentially what it is a repository of your configuration items, as well as the relationships between them. So the relationships is key. So where all of this is working smoothly, the CMDB should provide the foundation for any service management initiative. And then you can base all of your work items, your service management capabilities, things like incident management, change management, problem, service request fulfillment, on the data that you have captured and managed within your CMDB. So in the case of Service Manager, the SQL database that it sits on contains all the configuration items that I've talked about. So your users, computers, software, all those configuration items are hosted within the database of Service Manager. So it also takes in all the data from System Center, as we've mentioned, like Configuration Manager, and brings that data in through connectors. And because you have all of this data, your work items, your knowledge can all be related together and brought together as part of your service management initiatives. And that's what Service Manager enables. And there's three key things that I wanted to touch on as part of this. So the CMDB fundamentally, first and foremost, enables you to standardize across your service management initiative. So how do we do that? Standardization, by that I mean the ability to define what your service offerings are and have them captured within your CMDB. You can publish that service catalog as well as the service offerings to your end users to enable self-service. We enable you through Service Manager to have custom workflows to manage your business processes and automate some of that as well. And all of that can potentially be templated. So templates are very key in Service Manager. So you can map out your business processes, make sure they are captured in a template, which can then be redeveloped or redeployed even, so that you can ensure consistency of service delivery. You don't want different people to be doing the same item or same process in different ways to end up with different results, right? So you want the same services being delivered to the different users in a very consistent way. And that's what Service Manager, through its workflow capabilities, through its templates, enables you to do. And we've touched on self-service. That is sort of the next level of service management, where you want your end users to be able to self-service some of the service catalog items that you've developed and service catalog offerings that you've developed within your CMDB. All of that is possible through Service Manager to a certain extent, but this is where Saracen really comes into its own. So we have our own self-service portal that develops or enables you to push out some of these key items to your end users in a very easy to use way, and they can consume those services very easily and very quickly through Service Manager as well. And then automation, again, just to touch on that, all of the processes that you've mapped out can be automated through System Center components. So you've probably heard of System Center Orchestrator, the workflow and automation solution. There are other automation solutions provided by Microsoft, like Service Management Automation, as well as Azure Automation. All of these workflow engines can be linked into your CMDB and your service catalog to enable automation of service delivery and consistency of service delivery through automation. So these things are possible. And again, Saracen adds value through that, through our services, as well as some of our products like the PowerShell app, to automate certain processes within Service Manager. So that's some of the foundations around CMDB and how that enables you to develop and deploy your service management capabilities. And one slide just before, let's build this one out as well, before we talk about some of our some of our products in the demonstration. Saracen provides you applications that enable you to leverage or enhance the capabilities of Service Manager. We found gaps within the product. So all products that you have, you'll see gaps within all solutions. And Service Manager is no different. It does have some gaps that need to be filled. And Saracen have done that through free applications. And these are some of our free applications, and as well as paid for applications. And for Service Manager, I think we have nearly 30 applications that you can leverage. And if, as you look through our website and look at some of our different solutions, you want to know more, please contact us. So the email address, team@saracen.com, is on the bottom of each slide. So contact us and we can show you some of those products. We're just calling out some of these. So the self-service portal I've mentioned already, so a very easy to use HTML5 based web portal based on IIS that you can publish to your end users, both within your organization as well as externally, so they can consume and request the services that they need. And there are certain other functionality that Service Manager lacks sometimes, so closing off tickets in a automated way. We enable you to do that through the AutoClose application. Communication to your end users through email, we enable that through our advanced send email capabilities, as well as communication automatically where work items are changed to the analyst, so the service desk user, service desk analyst, as well as your end users through our Notify Analyst app. We can communicate again to our end users through a ticker application, and we also have a free time tracker application to enable you to track the time that analysts spend on work items, tickets within your system much more easily. So you can do that natively only within the instance. In Service Manager, we allow you to do that across all the work item types, service requests, problems, etc. So with that said, I want to swing over just to the demonstration aspects now, so we can talk through some of the capabilities in Service Manager. Just jump out of that. So hopefully you can all see my screen still, and you see the Service Manager console. So the first thing just to mention, and again, this is very high level, so any of you who've done some work in Service Manager will be familiar with some of this. But we have 4 key workspaces in Service Manager, and if you have the data warehouse, for example, you'll have another workspace potentially. But from a key functionality perspective, we have 4 key sections. So the administration section, the workspace, is to configure all your settings. You can view your workflows, manage your announcements, set up your connectors to bring data into the system. All of that is done through the administration node, so you can manage the settings within Service Manager. Just walking through these very quickly, then we have our library workspace. And the library workspace is where you can configure all your templates and tasks, your automation activities. It's a library of your service catalog as well. So you'd configure your service catalog in the library section, workspace even, and all of this is captured here. So as I mentioned, all of your key processes and items can be templated. So you can create templates for those to ensure consistency, right? And that's one of the key things we drive for in service management, so that you can template the process that a software request has to go through before it's completed. And because the services or the process that I employ to onboard a user may not be applicable to your organization, all of those things have to be developed by the user of the system, so in this case Service Manager, and all of these can be created and templated to map and match against your business processes. What I can even do within Service Manager is template the creation of tickets, so that when a service desk analyst is creating a work item, an incident, a service request, they only have to select a template. So then the relevant fields, the assignments, the titles potentially, which support group it gets assigned to, all of those items can be templated. So then they can manage the service levels much more simply, much more quickly as well. So the work items workspace is where your analyst, your service desk analyst, will normally sit, and this is where it allows you to manage the different ITIL processes. So we have the ability to manage, if I minimize all of these, the key ITIL processes for change, incident, problem, release management, and service request fulfillment. All of those can be managed end-to-end within Service Manager. And we'll look at some of those forms in a bit more detail in a second or so. And then finally, we have the configuration items workspace. So we talked about connectors being configured in administration and those settings that are configured. So once you've configured those items and they bring in data, your configuration item section shows you that data that you've imported. So things like your computers that may have come in through Configuration Manager, the associated software that has been discovered, again, through Configuration Manager, or maybe some sort of manual inventory that you've brought into the system. All of your users that you've brought in through Active Directory. So again, you can show them and manage them through your CMDB. And again, we'll touch on some of these aspects and the forms to show you what they look like and how you can relate all of these different aspects together through Service Manager as well. So just to look at some of the ITIL-based items. So I'm not going to walk through every single form purely because we don't have enough time today. But just looking at some of the incident capabilities, if I open up one of our incidents, just to show you what kind of information we can capture in Service Manager. So I'm not going to walk through every sort of field because again, we don't have time, but key things like your title, description, we have those capabilities. The ability to capture the urgency, the impact, and calculate the priority based on the selection of impact and urgency, and those are configurable for you. That is possible, again, through Service Manager. Obviously, from a service management, incident management process perspective, you want to be able to track and assign that work item to different people based on the life cycle of the work item. You can do that again. So I can search very quickly through my list of users and assign this work item to Rob through my service management capabilities in Service Manager. Obviously, one of the key things you also want to do is track communications with end users, and a history of all of those action log items is available to me through the log entry section of every work item. So this is on incidents, and again, that work log, action log is available to me in my service request for fulfillment, problem management, change management. So again, a history of all of the communications is available through this. I have the ability to manage activities. So again, where some of these activities are templated, I can select those. So if there was a specific activity that this incident needed to go through, as a Service Manager admin, you can create those templates. So then the service desk guy doesn't have to think about what process should it follow, but I can select if this was fixing a specific Outlook issue. The workflow that you need to go through is predefined. I could have that templated, select this, and assign that to the work item, so then a level of automation takes place as well. One of the best things about Service Manager is a CMDB, so I can relate work items to other work items. So if there were other incidents that related to this, I could relate them, or service requests. I can relate users, computers, configuration items in general to my work item to see what is affected as part of this ticket or this issue. I can attach files as well into the work item, so then I can track and have a more complete or a more complete visual of that work item and the issues pertaining to that work item. And then also, as a CMDB, we can track a history of everything that's happened to that work item through its lifecycle, from creation of the work item. So in this case, it was created through automation, and we see right at the bottom, I've changed the assignment, and that is tracked as well and logged within the database for you to be able to see who's done what through the lifecycle of the work item as well. So again, very easy and very quick to manage, and simple to manage, hopefully as well, through a very comprehensive solution that is Service Manager. Now, from a configuration item perspective, just to show you some of that CMDB capability, what I did want to do is just pick up on a user. I'm just going to find a user that I want to see here and just show you some of that relationship capability. So obviously from an AD perspective, there is a certain amount of information in Active Directory. We can bring that in and relate that to the user. So all of this, including the title, department, phone number, all of this that you see here is from my Active Directory. It's been imported in, and then I can see that user information in more detail through here. From a related items perspective, this is the CMDB functionality coming to the front. So which work items, which incidents, problems, changes, whatever, service requests were created by this user. I have a very easy ability to see all of the work items that Greg, in this case, has created. Which ones are then the work items affecting this user? So where this user is the affected user for the service request, for the incident, typically. So it could be that Greg himself has created these, or someone else has created these tickets on behalf of Greg and made Greg the affected user of that ticket. And again, we track that through here. Greg is an end user, so he hasn't closed any work items. But if this was a service desk person, service desk analyst, you'll typically see a bunch of work items that they've closed off in this list. And also any work items assigned. So in this case, as part of my automation capabilities or some sort of activity management capabilities, Greg has had a few manual activities, so activities where he has to take some action assigned to him in the past, and you can see very quickly what those are. He's got to procure a computer, maybe install an application. Those activities, again, those templated activities are assigned to Greg, where he can complete those and continue the workflow for that service request for fulfillment. And then finally, a very key thing is the ability to assign assets and configuration items to users. And I guess all of you want to be able to track if someone raises a ticket. So if someone reports a machine is not working or a piece of software isn't working, you want to be able to track very quickly or quickly see which devices are affected by that user raising that ticket, right? And again, through the CMDB, we can relate users to devices and have that exposed in work items. So you can see very quickly that if Greg raises an incident for slow performance for a device, you can see very quickly that it's most likely this asset that you've configured within the system. So all of those relationships really allow us to leverage the power of the CMDB, and Service Manager really enables that as well through being that CMDB within the enterprise. The other common ITIL process that a lot of users or a lot of customers develop to, so as you'll probably find within your own organizations, the key ones that most people take on initially are incident management and service request fulfillment. But change management is also very powerful, and it's a very powerful tool to manage changes within your IT infrastructure. And hopefully all of you are doing some level of change management, but Service Manager allows us to take that to a better or a higher level through standardizing some of those processes that we have within our business. So if I look at my change requests, if I open up one of these change requests, I can show you some of that capability that we have within the tool. So obviously, from any change perspective, like you have with any work item, you want to track your title, description, all that good stuff, and some of the reasons for why you're raising that change request. The other thing we can do for a change, from a change perspective in Service Manager, is show you some of those affected services, affected affected configuration items, affected business services. If I open this one up, you'll see some of what I mean from a business service perspective. So again, going back to the fact that this is a CMDB, I can relate different configuration items, assets into business services. So then if I create a change that affects a business service, I can very quickly see what is going to be affected by me doing this change. So I've opened up this business service, which is in this case my SCSM business service, because my change is to upgrade System Center Service Manager management packs. I can very quickly see what the business service is and what components make up that business service. So if I go to service components, it shows me all of the components, my database, what it is, the computers that are, or the servers in this case, that make up this business service. And all of that is related together, grouped together, so you can track what happens when you do the change. And you can see on that business service, I have my change related to it, and you can see I've already got that open. So all those relationships even, are mapped together and exposed in the console and through, if you take advantage of it, the Saracen portal as well, if you wanted to do that. So that's the change in this. So that's the business service in this case. So I'm just going to exit that. The next thing, just to point out from a change perspective, is we've got a couple of other tabs. So I've got my planning tab. And this is where I think all of you would agree, you would expect anyone who's raising a change to have a very strong implementation plan, a risk assessment, and a test plan before a management or your change advisory board, if you have one, would approve that change request. And we have the fields in Service Manager to be able to complete and keep those activities and that planning phase in the solution and track it. And if there's any documentation that they wanted to attach, you could do that through the related items and attach files that are needed for that change. All of that, again, can be managed through Service Manager in the change management piece. So you can plan your change when it's scheduled, and when you schedule to start it and when you schedule it to end, you can capture that in the planning tab. Next, this is where it becomes really powerful. So typically for change management and service management, activities really bring the solution to life. So activities are the steps that the change or the service request have to go through for it to be completed. And in this case, there's a few steps for this change to go through. So firstly, it's a manual activity. So if I open that up, you can see some of the instructions in there, and it's a manual activity because it's assigned to a specific person to do some steps, some activities to complete. So in this case, Don has to follow the upgrade instructions to do that step or complete that step. Once he's completed it, after it's assigned and he's marked it as complete, this process then automatically goes on to the next step, which in this case, if I highlight it, is to review. So review activities are, just to take a step back, there are two types of activities most people use within Service Manager: manual activities where you have to do something, or review activities where someone has to review what's been done or what is going to be done in the future, and that's typically in the form of an approval. So in this case, the next step of the process is for the CAB, or my change advisory board, to review this change and approve it before it goes on to the next step. And all of these steps, there could be some email workflows to notify people that they've had an activity assigned to them, so they can review and or action that activity before it moves on to the next step. And you have the ability to run activities concurrently. So in this case, it's sequential, so one follows after the other. Or I have the ability to add activities that run concurrently. So I can say RA964 and RA962 have to run in parallel, so they run at the same time, and they have to be completed together before it moves on to the next step, which is this manual activity. So you have that flexibility within the solution to map your business processes for change management, for service request fulfillment, and map them to changes and service requests as appropriate. So again, as I mentioned before, the processes that I employ in my organization may not be appropriate for you, and that's why this is left as an open-ended solution, so you can map your processes into the product to automate as much as possible, to make the process of delivering services, managing changes, etc., much more efficient within your business. And hopefully all of that is making sense. And you can see how Service Manager potentially can take your service management capabilities to the next level. Cool. So we've had a quick look at incident management and change management. I do want to touch on service request fulfillment because I know there's a lot of interest from that within the community, and I'll touch on that a bit later on because I want to show you some of our Saracen applications that leverage service management or service request fulfillment as well. But at this point, what I want to do is just look at some of the free applications that plug in some of the gaps, and I would be doing a disservice if I said Service Manager was perfect. It had no gaps. There are some gaps that need to be plugged in, and Saracen provides some of those solutions freely, as well as, like I've said, we have paid for applications as well that leverage some of that capability or extend some of that capability. But one of the things I mentioned in the slide decks, the advanced send email capabilities of Cireson. So that's something that we've offered free of charge for a while now. You can go to our website, download it, and use that within your environment. So what is that solution? So one of the key challenges of Service Manager is the ability to communicate with your end users. So you'll notice when you look at some of our applications is quite a few of them, especially on the free side, is the ability to communicate better with end users and analysts based on what's happening in Service Manager. So what we've done in Service Manager is through our advanced send email app is we've enabled you the ability to have a button in your work item form to be able to send an email to the affected user by default. I mean, you can add any other users, any other email addresses in here if you wanted to. But I can email the end user directly from the work items. And I think you'll agree, if you've just installed Service Manager, this is a very nice piece of functionality to have. So it leverages your SMTP connector, your Exchange connectors, whatever it is that you're using in Service Manager to send those emails. And I can choose which template that I want. In this case, I have one template configured within Service Manager. We can show you all of the templates that you have. Choose a template, and I can say, I am investigating, will update soon. I can add attachments, and I can hit OK to send that email to the user. Very importantly, I have the ability to then add that communication to the work log as well. So by default, you can see this is checked, which is good practice. So then you have the ability to track the email that you've sent within the work item itself. If that's not checked, obviously then that email is only sent as an email. There's no log item or log within the work item to track that email has been sent. So if I can hit OK, and then the email is sent to Greg Winston, and you can see it'll be right at the bottom. Email has been sent, and it's been sent by me, and that's tracked within the system. That's a very powerful solution, and again, free of charge. Download it, add value to your Service Manager installation using our send email capabilities. So just I'll save that one. And I apologize, this is running on my PC, so it's not the fastest lab environment. The next thing I wanted to mention was some of these to continue along those activity log entries, or the action log entries even. One of the frustrations with Service Manager is, again, that communication piece if someone were to add an action log item. So to get email communications happening when, say, I do an action log comment in here, I have to create subscriptions within Service Manager. And typically, if you wanted to cover all of your incident processes, your different incident teams, your end users, as well as your service management and other processes, you'd have to have a lot of subscriptions within Service Manager to make those email communications happen. And when you have all those subscriptions, the management overhead is significantly increased as well. So this is where the Saracen Notify Analyst app comes in. So I can, through the installation of one app, and again, that's free of charge, the Notify Analyst. There's a professional version, which is paid for, just so you're aware, which adds additional functionality across more work item types. But in an incident, what I can do is I can install the notify analyst. When I do a comment on this, if I hit, if I don't select the is private, so the is private doesn't send any notifications. If I hit the add comment, not only is the work item action log updated, an email is sent to the end user for that with that comment shown to them. So whatever I've added into the comment log or the action log, that is sent to the end user, and vice versa. So if an end user updates the work item or adds any more comments, the service desk analyst that it's assigned to is notified as well. So then that communication loop is closed off. And you'd think, why wasn't that there natively in Service Manager? And again, that's a great question. But again, it doesn't matter because Saracen have provided you a solution to do that free of charge. So again, check out our website, download, register for that, and download that application and use it within your Service Manager installation. Another frustration, so I'm listing a few frustrations, is from a good best practice Microsoft operations framework perspective. Resolving an incident is not sufficient to close it off. So there's a final step where the incident's been resolved for a certain amount of time, and then you have to close that work item to complete the life cycle of the work item. In Service Manager natively, anything that's in resolved doesn't close automatically after a set period of time. You have to go in as a service desk administrator, service desk analyst, go through all your resolved items and close them off manually. So I can go and go to change the incident status and close that off to complete the work item. And if you don't do that, what you'll see over time is the repository of resolved tickets sitting in your console and in your Service Manager database, increasing, and making the performance of the system slower and slower. Because once it's closed off, it can be archived into the data warehouse. So that's a key frustration that a lot of customers have with the product, and we've seen that as well. So what we've also done, another free application that we have to solve that issue, is our Cyrus AutoClose application. So just to bring that up here very quickly, so I've got under my settings, I import the management pack for AutoClose, and I can configure those settings. And what I can say for each work item type, so for example, for incidents, if it's resolved for 10 days, then I can enable the workflow to automatically close off those work items, those incidents. Similarly, for problems, change requests, I can start enabling all of those, and those workflows are enabled when I hit OK. And then those relevant work items, depending on the criteria that it hits, they're closed off. So then they can be archived into the data warehouse. So then you have better performance of the system going forward as well. And also you're following best practice ITIL and MOF recommendations. Hopefully all of that makes sense, and you can see again how this free application adds value to Service Manager. I'm going to leave that for now. So the other application I wanted to touch on, if I go to my library as well, is Time Tracker. So Time Tracker is really cool, and it allows you to leverage some capability that Service Manager provides to a certain extent, but doesn't do for all work item types. So in incidents, Service Manager natively allows you to track and state the amount of time you've worked on a specific incident. So I can say, in this case, I have this ticket assigned to me, and I can say I've actually then also worked on it for another 15 minutes. And I can add that to the list, and you can see the time spent by Davis Mathai on this work item has increased by 15 minutes. And you can see a total time. That's there for incidents, which is great, and it's really useful to then track how much time, how much effort's been spent to resolve certain incidents. But it's only available for incidents. So if you wanted to do the same thing for change management or service requests, it's not there. So again, another free application that I can strongly recommend to all of you is our Time Tracker application, again free of charge. So I can on any work item. So for example, in my service request system, I have an additional tab for time worked. And the same thing that I did for my incidents, I can track that same, my time spent in the same way within service requests and changes, etc. Again, increasing the flexibility of Service Manager as a solution significantly. No reasons why it's not there natively, but again, like I said, leverage Cireson's products to enable that functionality that you need within your service management. Just conscious of time as well, so what I do want to do is spend a few minutes on service management or service request fulfillment even, and the best way that I can think of doing that is showing you service request management through the Saracen portal. So I'm just going to log in quickly as an end user, and again, the self-service portal from Saracen is a free application. And the reason why we have this as a product is anyone who's used a Microsoft out-of-the-box self-service portal, although it's improved significantly since its early days in 2012, 2013, it's still not enterprise ready, we feel. And we've enabled you through our self-service portal to publish a service catalog to your end users and enable them to manage or request the services that they need very, very easily and very quickly. Within the console, again, just to give you some context, within the library section, you would configure your service catalog. So what services can our end users request from IT? You configure those within the console, and the Saracen service takes that and publishes those into your self-service portal. So I can go ahead and navigate through the service offerings that I have. I can report an issue, and very simply in this case, in this form, it's enter the title, describe it, and what type of issue is it. And you can see there's a flexibility in having free text fields, drop-down lists. I can even have selection items, and I can attach files even through the web portal. All of these fields map back into your service or your service management system, in this case Service Manager, the forms for incidents, and this is mapping back to complete the fields that you need to capture from the end user to manage that incident process. Even better, even more powerful, I would say, is the ability to publish service requests to your end users. So those service requests are needed to capture what new things potentially that your users are requesting from IT. So in this case, I could have the ability to add a new user into my organization. So let's say Emma has started in my company, and I can capture all the information that I need. And again, you can have these as drop-down lists. You can have a department list drop-down from this perspective. And here is a link into my configuration items. So all of the users within my system are published in my request form. I can search for the sales people within my published list in my service request form. And again, the column headings that you publish depend on what criteria that you want to show. So in this case, I have display name, title, and department. And I want to say Emma's manager is going to be Molly C. So I select that as a management level. Select the date. You have a date picker as well within Saracen. So let's do the date that Emma started, 2nd of Jan, as we know. And then also I have the ability to link in to the computers, the catalog items that you have configured within Service Manager. So Service Manager has a limited capability to publish configuration items, but with Saracen Asset Management, which is an add-on into Service Manager, I can create catalog items, I can create hardware assets that then I can publish to my end users so they can request them from IT. So in this case, I know Emma needs a Lenovo thin and light laptop, and I can save that. And then that has created my service request, and it's been very easy as an end user to request that. And the self-service portal then also shows me a visibility of all of my requests. So I can see very quickly This is the latest ticket that I've created, and I can see all of the items that I've selected. I have the ability to also communicate with IT through this. If it's taking a bit of time to fix this or complete this onboarding request, I can say what's taking so long, and all of those action logs, those comments by the end user or the IT service desk are captured within the work item itself, and they're shown to your end users and service desk people. So very easy to use, very powerful in terms of delivering self-service capabilities on top of your CMD, on top of the platform, which is Service Manager, and again, free of charge to you as an end user, to you as a Service Manager user, a Service Manager community user from Saracen. Just touch on a couple of other things within the self-service portal. We have announcement capability, so I can push announcements to AD users and groups. So then, depending on who you are, when you log onto the portal, you'll get access to see maybe key issues that are happening. If a certain system is down, you can notify the relevant users. And again, like I said, you can scope that based on AD users and groups. Just to touch on one other thing, so that's the free self-service portal. What I also have the ability to do is, through a paid-for application, I can extend the self-service side to also give my analysts, my service desk analysts, the ability to manage tickets through the system. So I can very quickly go to my active work, see all of the open tickets within the system, and you can see the new ticket that I've created, or Greg created in this case, for onboarding Emma. I can open that work item, and I can start managing that through its lifecycle. So I can assign it to a specific user very easily, Rob Young, save, and then Rob Young, when he logs in, he will have that ticket sitting in his My Work view. So again, very simple views, customized for you to leverage the capabilities of System Center and Service Manager, significantly greater than it does now. So with that said, that's a very high-level overview of Service Manager and some of the components of Saracen that enable better functionality in Service Manager. Hope you found that useful, and just conscious of time, I wanted to just move over to the slide deck again so that we can complete and wrap up the webinar and have some time for questions as well. So one of the key things I just wanted to mention to you is the community. So Saracen, we have our own community website, so check that out on community.saracen.com is a website. It's a great repository of information and a great collaboration solution for those of you who use Saracen products, or those of you who, even if you don't use Saracen products, if you use any System Center products, it's a great way to connect to other people using the same solutions that you are, as well as Saracen employees, Saracen support. All of us are on this, so if you have any questions, any feature requests, which is another great source of another great enabler for the Saracen community, post those within the community website, and you can track what's happening with the feature requests. You can add new feature requests, ask questions, and we try and make that as interactive and as useful as possible. So we've got thousands of people on this now, and there's a great community out there of Service Manager users, as well as other System Center products that can leverage the community from Saracen. So again, even community.saracen.com is the website. Please check that out, register, and come back to us and see how you can take advantage of System Center and Saracen through this. With that said, I just wanted to pause there and see if there were any questions, anything that anyone needed answering. We've got about five or 6 minutes to see if there's any questions. Okay, yeah. So Anastasia, you asked if we're going to upload the webinar content to the internet. Yes, we are. So we have a website on or a section of Vimeo. So vimeo.com/Team Saracen. Yeah, I'll put that into the chat as well. Oops, so that you have access to that. Is where all of our webinars, webinar recording, recordings are hosted. So you'll see literally over 100 webinars, I think, and other recordings on that site. This one will be there within the next day or 2 days. Any other questions from anyone on the webinar today? Mana, great question. Can I see my team request page on the portal? Let's just switch over to that quickly so I can show you. So we have a view just for teamwork. So teamwork is a very simple way of grouping tickets based on AD groups. So in the portal, what I can do is I can configure teams based on AD groups. So you can have a team for marketing users, sales users, whatever, IT users, and depending on who logs in. So if I log in as an IT user and I'm part of the IT team defined in service in my Saracen portal, I will see all of the tickets that my team are working on in this view. So it's a very simple way of adding functionality to Service Manager. So in Service Manager, you'd have to do queues to lock that down, and the more queues you have, the more performance impact there is. We enable you to do it much more simply through AD groups, AD users and groups in the portal. Hopefully that answered your question, Manan, and hopefully I said your name correctly. And sorry, team requests as well. Sorry, Mana, I should have also mentioned the team, same way the teamwork is there, team requests. Anything that my team have requested, whether it's incident services or service requests or whatever, again, we can group those together in terms of AD users and groups. No problem. Thank you, Mana, for the question. So it doesn't look like there's many other questions coming. I know everyone's got busy days, and I just wanted to take the time once more just to say thank you for joining us today on the webinar. Thank you for your time. If you don't have any questions, feel free to drop off again, and I really look forward to speaking with some of you again soon. Thank you, Jochen. You too.